welcome to the Holy Hour podcast, the bi-weekly all-cure podcast. But I'm not sure if this one's even going to be bi-weekly. I hope everybody's doing well out there and joining us for our first episode back, episode 101. And yeah, this one's kind of on the fly. We're plugging it in. If you catch next episode is also going to be episode 101. But that's the kind of professionalism that people look for here at the Holy Hour podcast. And we have a special episode that we are trying to rush out to you guys in time here. And I'm joined by Chaz and Donald. Welcome, fellas.
Hello.
Yo.
Hey.
Hey, y'all.
But yeah, we really kind of wanted to rush this episode because as many Cure fans know out there, we got some bad Cure news in the last week, and where we had the first loss of a Cure member in Andy Anderson, and everyone's been blowing up social media with tributes and nice words and paying their respects to Andy, and we figured we shouldn't let too much time slide by with the podcast either. And thanks to Chaz here, too, for instigating that. I was like, well, we could do our Andy episode, but I don't want to rush it. And then when Susie threw the idea out there, too, I was like, yeah, we should. Let's do it. So thank you, Chaz.
No problem.
It's like, yeah, because we had said early on that, you know, more of an idea when we run out of albums and stuff, I really wanted to go back and kind of do episodes that focus on the specific members and people that have been in the Cure throughout the history, and so we really wanted to do this anyway, and it seemed like a fitting time to go through the story of Andy in the Cure and also pay our respects, because it's been pretty nice seeing everybody give their nod to him, you know.
Yeah, that's somebody that had such a short time in the band, there was a lot of outpouring, which is, you know, moving. I know I was moved the day that he died. You know, I think it was just also like realization that they might, you know, not everybody in the band's going to last forever, you know?
Yeah.
So at he's 68, you know, everybody's up there, you know?
Yeah, and it's weird. And I think as fans, you know, I definitely lose track, you know, in the sense of I still, even being a mature man at this point, still put these guys into some weird, you know, poster on the wall syndrome where they are immortal and they are going to be around forever. You know, I'm like, no, wait, they are actual humans. And you know, as heart-wrenching as it is when these things happen, it is kind of also a good reminder to appreciate their time when they are here and such. And definitely sad, you know, and the way it all went down too, where he made his announcement online there, and like I felt like I'd seen some kind of like rumor type style where he was in the hospital and he wasn't well, and then he had posted a thing on Facebook and basically said it was terminal, and you know, a really nicely written message to the fans out there and everything, where he was just being super brave and cool, and it sounds like was definitely a, you know, something that everybody that really did know him was like, yeah, that was what's awesome about him. Just a really sweet, brave dude, you know, and but just how fast it was too, you know, just like the next week, I think, you know, and just pretty sad when it just goes down like that. But we all know.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was talking to somebody else about it, and that they were saying how fast it was, and I was like, my father, he found out that he had cancer a week before he passed, you know. So I mean, this stuff happens, and it's kind of important why you got to go to the doctor. You know, more than once, like once you're hurting or whatever, you got to, you know, regularly go. So because this stuff matters, and you know, he never said what kind of cancer it was, but I mean,
you don't really know if there was any signs before that or what that he just didn't display. But yeah, as far as a statement,
which happens.
So,
you know, I mean, especially like a lot of, you know, old, not saying this is him, but a lot of, you know, old school dudes, you know, don't want to go to the doctor, you know, but it's important. So it's
my little fall in that category, but hopefully I'll feel like as soon as you go, you find out you're dying, and then, but in all actuality, there's no excuse not to, especially when you have a family and stuff too. It changes everything, so it's like I need to get that checked out.
But, that's my little PSA. So.
Yeah, thank you. It needs to be said. I think the more people say it out there, the better. And But yeah, I mean, definitely if you haven't, I'm assuming any Cure out there saw his message and then saw the nice words. Lowell in particular had a really nice statement. He said Andy was a true gentleman, a great musician with a wicked sense of humor, which he kept until the end, a testament to his beautiful spirit on the last journey. We are blessed to have known him. And so yeah, that was a really nice statement. It sounded like they stayed in touch pretty good too.
Yeah, he did that Leavenhurst thing, which is
pretty rad.
Yeah,
he was a part of that. And
it looked like that Robert and him ended on relatively good terms.
Yeah,
there was that concert where he gave a shout out and for Shake Dog Shake.
Yeah,
and they met afterwards. There's a picture of him with talking to Andy afterwards. So
yeah, that pop up. Was that on the last 2016 tour? Do you know? Or?
I don't really remember. I think it might have been before that. But
okay, yeah, like you said, it is fascinating just for what a short little blip in the history he was a part of the Cure and played. Everyone really, it seems to have just kind of embraced his time, was very cool about it, in the sense that people have their favorite members that they hold dear to their heart, and in the meantime even talk a lot of trash in between, but like when it comes time, everybody was all like, yeah, he was a part of the Cure and a very crucial part for only really technically playing on one album and a couple singles. It's pretty amazing that he was at a very pivotal point in the band and really did make an impact. So
he's a fucking keystone.
Yeah,
I think drum wise and music wise. Yeah, because you couldn't have this transition from Lowell,
right? Because that's
Whomst was a very like drum machine dude and nailed it, and it was great. But like Andy was the first guy ripping drum rolls, like tom rolls, like boogada 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 boot, like just doing different rhythms other than like 4/4 drum machine shit, or maybe like mix it up in like a 2/16 or whatever, like on a programmed drum machine. This guy was ripping shit, getting jazzy, and I think Robert very purposely was like, yo, dude, like you can do all kinds of shit. And it was the transition to like Boris rhythms.
Yeah.
And he nailed like the shit he did on Japanese Whispers and the top. Like the top is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like his opening roll was a statement.
Yeah.
Like the Shake Dog Shake shit, like was like boogada 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 boogada. This is the first thing you hear, and it's like I imagine like Cure fans that were there in the time were like, what the fuck? Because it's such a diversion from what they've been doing.
And I wonder too for like how much the top is kind of like one that doesn't sit well with every Cure fan, like just even when we talked about, and it might have been a point we didn't even really bring up, was like just because it's a drastic change in the rhythm so much, where it doesn't sound like the old Cure, but it's not quite like new Cure yet, as far as like
it's like an expected thing, when you hear like Lowell like come out, it's like doom doom ga ga dum dum ga ga. It's like
so
and that's. It has its
so there's something to that, I bet. But all this will come up again too. We thought we'd do a nice casual stroll through the history of Andy Anderson and the Cure, though. So you guys ready to walk through the biography with me? But, cool. Well, technically, Andy's born Clifford Leon Anderson, so I'm not sure where the Andy really comes from, but
Leon's a dope name.
Yeah. So old Clifford. But born West Ham, which I pieced together as East London.
West Ham United.
Yeah, so it's like if I knew my soccer or football better, I think I would know exactly where. But I don't have too much on his early life. It sounds like he left school around 15 and had a few normal jobs, it said, but hard to say, but then got into music pretty quickly, profession-wise, and like we said earlier, he's kind of known more, I think, all the way to the end as more of a session musician, where he never really rested in one band for any significant amount of time, even outside of the Cure. But was kind of the go-to guy, and a wide variety
played
of
with
acts.
Hawkwind.
Yeah, so that's the first example. The first thing I had really cited was Hawkwind's side projects he recorded with Nick Turner of Hawkwind, who I'm not familiar with at all until I started researching this stuff. I guess like
Hawkwind is crazy.
Prog rock, I guess, like, psychedelic.
Hawkwind is crazy. Just, like Lemmy from Motorhead.
Yeah, just like
in Hawkwind, he's like, I'm out.
Yeah,
guys. I can't. What? And it was all meth-fueled psych music in the late 70s. Like, Hawkwind is crazy. Like,
yeah, I watched a few YouTube clips and I was just like, what is this shit? I was like, it was like all over the place in itself.
I listened to a few live shows of theirs, like from back in the day, and it was just a wall of really high-pitched guitars.
Yeah.
Like just a wall. Like it made no sense, and that's why I like Hawkwind. Like they're crazy, and the fact that I did not know that. The fact that he played with them, like that's crazy. That's crazy shit. That's what.
Yeah, he played with them.
That's what Lemmy does
live.
And he played that's awesome. I was so shocked. I didn't know that, and I was so impressed. Maybe love him more.
Yeah, I'm
that
sure
he played with fucking Hawkwind.
They called him on the Nick Turner solo one that he recorded on, actually, on the album. He was credited as Android Anderson. So for his
what a dope nickname.
Robotic skills of
Android Anderson.
And so yeah, recorded with them. Then Steve Hillage, which I think I found some clip. It was just some kind of more like 70s rock kind of stuff. Did three albums with Steve.
Hello, I'm Steve Hillage.
Steve Hillage, then went back to Hawkwind to play with them live. He didn't record any actual albums with Hawkwind, but played as their live drummer in a band called Brilliant, which I found some clips with, which was like almost like kind of
sounds so British.
It was like it was actually like 80s.
What did they call the band? Brilliant.
If I found the right one, they were like a 80s, like almost R&B kind of pop type thing. Like it would make
like a Hall & Oates kind of genre.
I mean, the only way I could categorize it was like the 80s stuff when I used to watch music videos, like Music Video Connection. You remember that channel where it was all like the African American pop, I guess like Jody Watley kind of pop stuff, but it was like
Janet Jackson.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like maybe a little more like R&B than that deeper, or something, but a lot of R&B. Still like a lot of like synths and stuff though. So yeah, I don't know, but apparently a British band that was kind of in that vein. I'm probably not doing justice describing, but so yeah, I'm not sure what he played with them, but that was the connection from them somehow. Got the Blue Sunshine gig, and that's the first Cure connection is actually through the side project with Steve Severin, Blue Sunshine, The Glove, and he played all the real drums on the Glove album.
Fuck.
And this
that blows my mind that dude went from Hawkwind.
Yeah, so I don't know
like that.
Where the hell? Yeah, and that's the only thing. Like through all the sources I found, I couldn't find what the initial who brought him in to the Glove, and there was like kind of mixed stories of like after the Glove, like how he got brought into the Cure. But as far as the initial meeting and brought into the Glove, I don't know who the hell brought him in or what. There was one quote from the visual documentary book of Robert saying Andy came in quite by accident. Somebody introduced us, and even though our musical backgrounds were very different, we just got on very well. He's probably technically the most competent one out of all of us. So
what was his nickname?
Android Andy.
Yeah. So like fucking Bob saw that Android Anderson was like, all right,
yeah,
dude.
so it definitely doesn't sound like Robert brought him in, but they hit it off well from the start. So maybe Severin brought him in.
That's dope.
But so yeah, all the real drums, which there's, I listen to those demo versions more, but Blue Sunshine definitely has
tons of drums.
Yeah, it's got some cool shit on there, and some very kind of like New Ordery stuff. Even when you really listen to like an Animal and stuff right off the bat is very like playing along to the drum loops and stuff like that too. So
the ability just to like slam like difficult drum parts in a fucking drum machine, like a like a metronome, just to fit in with all that is so hard. And that guy slayed that, like, on the like a bunch of shit, like a couple things on the top, and then especially like the Japanese whisper shit, like sheesh.
Well,
man,
he
like,
didn't play.
That's hard.
Didn't play on Let's Go to Bed.
He was perfect.
Yeah, and that was like the first live pulling into the Cure. Was that they had put out Let's Go to Bed, and Chris Perry wanted them to promote it for something on Oxford Roadshow, which you can actually find the clip on YouTube. And it was like
it's the Antiques
Roadshow. It sounds like it, but basically it was like the first like them playing live as a band, though, I think since Pornography. So it was really weird for Robert, and they and then that cited Chris Perry as bringing Anderson in to play, because he liked his work with Brilliant. And I'm like, but he had already played on The Glove, so that whole quote didn't make any sense. So Robert knew him. It wasn't like Chris Perry just pulled him out of nowhere. So they brought him in, but the big like joke with that was they were supposed to play Let's Go to Bed and Just One Kiss to promote it, but they played 100 Years in Figurehead instead. and and like he just fucking nails it, you know. And it's just like totally one of those deals where, we'll talk about that more when we get into the live side of.
Do you know this song? He's like, yeah,
and he just played it flawlessly. So it's really cool to see that YouTube clip. But then they put together a U.S. tour, and they figured they would use Phil and Andy again for that, and it went really good. So they actually pulled off the whole tour, this U.S. tour, and then recorded Love Cats with him and Speak My Language and Mr. Pink Eyes. So that was the first Cure recordings with Andy were for Love Cats.
And those two songs, like Speak My Language and Love Cats, like really threw me for a loop. Like thinking about like the transition that in the band, like that Andy was an integral part of. Like there's never any rhythms like that before, like some of these songs, and those two really stick out as like. Lowell could never do that. Like, and no fault to Lowell, man. Like, Lowell can do his shit.
Yeah, already at that point, it's past.
But it opens up like a whole new like world. If you're a musician and you get a drummer that can like, I can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And this guy is absolutely one of those drummers. Just like, I can do whatever you want, whatever you could think of. Or you can imagine, whatever you can't imagine, I can make it a thing. And his drumming is flawless. Like, and imagine like being like a songwriter, just like I want to do all these things, and I have this this person that can just do
step in and
ever, like
any style.
Like this,
I mean, just already from the Glove to like new wave jazzy shit. I mean, that's already a pretty diverse palette there. So
it changed the course of the band, I think.
Yeah.
Like, or like maybe it could have happened without him. You know
or
what I
a
mean?
different
like,
drummer, but at the same time, he made
some other different drummer. But like
he definitely showed that it was possible to do.
Their music was completely different after
to
this.
do different stuff, and kept that momentum going over. They didn't have to just be a synth pop band with dum 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 for everything, So
that's why you have Kiss Me.
Yeah. But all right, before we get into the top, guys, any other thoughts there? Chaz, we never got to do Speak My Language era and all that back in the day with you. How do those singles fit with you? Or the Love Cats new wave jazz? You on board? Or?
Yeah,
new wave jazz.
No, I definitely like those. Japanese Whispers is a pretty solid album.
Yeah.
It's not really an album. Definitely a transition from what they were doing before into the top, but I wouldn't have minded. I don't like the top. I think that's a good transition into what they were going to do, because I can't even imagine if they didn't do this and just came out with the top, like what would have been.
It does seem like all those pieces are crucial, and it's kind of something I jotted down as a final thought, where I was like, because I know Chaz isn't a super fan of the top by any means, and we were even pretty torn on it when we go back and forth picking it apart. As far as the classic Cure albums, it's definitely the one that's like, I don't know, but I do feel like all of us probably could agree that the drums were definitely not the issue with Top. And,
no.
So it is definitely a huge testament to him.
They're the fucking saving grace,
it's like a huge testament to him that he's basically nailed the one part that everybody realizes.
Like one of the best parts
of
it.
I mean, the drums are great.
Absolutely.
He's probably the first professional musician that they had at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
They encountered, right?
Well, the one-off guy for the drums on "Let's Go to Bed," but that was just the one single. But even him, I mean, he was, that doesn't really count, even, So it's
I wouldn't even consider like Robert or Simon at that point to be professional musicians of pornography,
I mean, technically,
that's not
maybe Poral. I'm not really sure what Poral was doing before all that, in between. But
I think
you're saying like them not being professional musicians, like hanging around the studio dude that slays,
I think
really impacted, absolutely.
Where you said that he could probably do anything that you asked. And I don't think, Lowell wouldn't be able to do that,
right?
So
play with some R&B actors,
but and they couldn't do it, in a way, it was a whole new world, man,
And it's also a crazy compliment and just to the overall weirdness of his era, because that was such a convoluted Cure history time anyway, of the fact that we are only really talking about under 2 years, and we've already covered the Glove and some singles, and now we're into the Top, and even the Top was the weird one because he was recording Hyena at the exact same time, and that's all the lore of that was where he was just basically staying up all night and sleeping back and forth, driving from one studio to the other, whacked out on whatever. And so, I mean, it's a really weird wrinkle of time for him to be in anyway, and there was no band. He was, him and Lowell were the Cure. I mean, because Phil Thornley wasn't playing bass on the album. He was, just there, but he wasn't. And Poral even didn't play, surprisingly, on the Top. They brought him in for the tour. He played just the sax on it. So, I mean, it really was just Robert and, Andy, really. I'm sure. Even Lowell, I'm sure wasn't.
I'll tour, but I'm just playing the sax. That's awesome. What a fucking...
Yeah, I'm not sure how that all...
Hell yeah.
He just popped in for that one part, or if he declared he was only going to play the sax on this.
It's I'll do it, but I'm just playing the sax. It's you're not going to play guitar? He's no. It's but that's what you're really awesome at.
So like we stated earlier, craziness going on with the recording of the Top, but that's what kept him going, said Robert, was Andy's magic mushroom tea that he would drink and keep him perfectly whacked out for the content of the Top, and then catching a taxi over to keep working with the Banshees throughout the night. There's that whole story, I forget the name of it, but basically the pub was attached to the studio or something too, so everyone was just getting annihilated during the whole process, and Lowell for sure, he said this was kind of where it kick-started all the downward spiral in a sense too, and
because he got replaced.
Yeah, I think there's a little of that probably, but yeah, not too many.
He's first it was a drum machine, and then it was an actual
human. So, all right.
That's really good at.
But not too many actual studio stories with the Top other than that, and that Robert was slowly being exhausted and killed by the whole process. But yeah, and he was taking.
Can I toss in one of my notes?
Yeah, what you got?
Real quick. That Andy was basically cucking Lowell.
Cupping?
It was like a cuck situation. A cuckold.
Yeah.
With the drums?
I'm just... Yeah. Right, but drum-wise, he was cucking the situation.
You had to watch him play the drums and then just sit there.
Yeah.
Just watch it. Like,
yeah,
just
it'd be pretty tough.
and he had such this relationship with Robert. You know, they were like boys.
Well,
you know,
at the
like,
end of this tale, there's a part that'll refer back to that kind of makes it all sting a little bit more. But I'll save that for the grand finale. Poor Lowell. But
just imagine this guy just coming in and slinging fucking drum dick.
Like, okay, I guess we're doing this now. But
like, and you listen to like the intro to Shake Dog Shake. It's just like just the. It's so tight. It's so tight. Like, everything this guy does is so tight. And Lowell's just like watching it happen, and just like, I played drums.
Yeah. It's a
Woo!
tough.
That's tough, man.
role to pop into.
That's the thing.
Like you said, straight out of the gate with Shake Dog Shake, I think we hear a new Cure for sure. You know, like you're saying, it's like because we've heard Lowell drums is like its own thing, synth drums, even brush drums on Love Cats. But now we got like what would technically become like what actual Cure from here on out sounds like with rock, new wave, whatever you want to call it, from that era on is like live, full on. You know, Boris to Jason drumming, you know, and it's like he basically kickstarted all that and proved that it was possible to not just have boom, boom, you know. So, like you're saying, it's
perfect
crucial.
segue into Boris, man. Like, he is crucial, man. Like, like Andy is crucial.
Yeah, and I think just in the top songwriting wise, for better and worse, or worse, the idea of like Andy being the one that could play these kind of flawless worldish beats at times and stuff. One of the core stories that's in all the books pretty much is how Caterpillar starts out with him tapping his leather trousers, and that's the whole rhythm before the bongos kick in or whatever the hell is, like him actually just patting on his leather pants there, and that's what the beat is.
And he's all microdosing on like
mushroom
some mushroom tea. Like
dude,
like not even getting fucked up, but just microdosing. Just
drums.
like, no, I'm just keeping it steady, man.
Robert's like, this is better drums than we've had on anything so far, and he doesn't even have a drum set. But so, yeah, it's pretty.
I want some mushroom tea. Goddamn.
Do you guys have a favorite drum track from the top? I mean, I guess Shake Dog Shake's kind of the obvious one.
Shake Dog Shake is that's
a cool.
Yeah, I think that's the best song on the album, and it just it's definitely my favorite live off that album. Yeah. So it's just like it kicks so much ass just hearing it live. Even just compared to hearing it like on on my phone or on the computer, it's so strong. It's such a strong song. Mm-hmm. So I wish the whole album was like that.
Everything wins on that song, for sure. It's pretty cool. Give Me It. I think the drums are cool and it rocks, but the song's just never been one of my favorites. But it's definitely. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Fucking the song. The
top.
Yeah. His drums on that.
Yeah.
That's a song that made me think he was cucking Lowell. Like, that's the beat that Lowell always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But he could never do. Like, that shit is so tight. Like, he's just like doing some kind of Boris stuff.
Yeah.
Where just like it's like a riding the tom kind of beat. It's not like hi hat and just like.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's just like a melody on the kit.
Yeah.
And, like, the top.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cuck Lowell beat for me, man.
Nice.
Like, that shit's tight.
Yeah. And I guess I always just love Caterpillar so much that I love every little part of that. And I love that it kind of doubles up with that one, too.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that they did, like, studio cool percussion and drum stuff for that. But then, like, when he does it live and even when Jason plays it now, it's, like, such a cool, big, weird drum beat that's different. But it's on, like, live full drums, and it, like... It's really cool.
It's never the same.
Yeah, and it's kind of like one that they never really.
I would have loved to hear him play that live.
Yeah,
like,
there's clips of it. It's out there, but
if I had a time machine,
yeah,
that's one of the things I would do.
Yeah.
Like, that's in my top 5 time machine moves.
Yeah,
is I would go back and because it's so good.
That
song. It's gossamer drumsticks, like brush sticks.
Yeah.
Like, it's so delicate and.
Yeah, it's rad. That kind of made me sad too. I was telling my kid over dinner that he had died, and like and it dawned on me that his two favorite songs were Andy Drum's ones, like Love Cats and Caterpillar, like my kid's favorite songs. I was like, oh yeah, those are your two favorites.
No.
He played drums on those, and he was like, oh. Then he got all sad, and I felt like a jerk. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really need to bring him down with this.
The bad boys welling up.
Yeah. Pretty sad, but Empty World is my least favorite, Andy, but I don't think that was his decision to go with the marchy drums, probably. I don't know, maybe it was, but the marchy drum beat of Empty World is not one of my favorites, but kind of figured that was...
It's well done, but it's not his choice. Like, he's a studio
dude. It's not
dude,
the execution of the playing that makes me not like it, it's just the idea.
But he slays that shit. So. Like, he slays that beat. Like,
yeah. But, and that's another thing, too, I mean... And it's hard to give him credit on that even, because this is when Dave Allen, the dude that I'm always secretly praising, is his first co-producing is with this, and just like how great the tones are on everything on the top, and just it sounds great. I mean, it's as weird as that album is, and not great, you know. It's like definitely doesn't sound like 1984 or anything, you know. I mean, it's just like it's weird as hell, but they sound great, and his playing is great, and the mixing's good, you know. They're not too big and weird, and which is kind of cool. I mean, it actually is a better testament to the transition from Wild Mood Swings or anything, not even, you know, knocking on definitely not Jason or any of the other drummers that played on Wild Mood Swings, but just how that wasn't a very smooth transition from Boris, you know, like where it was still some weird tones and stuff. I think they were just trying in a different era of weird stuff, but the
big sound.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite right after hearing Boris, you know. But like with this, you know, it's like technically that should have sounded weirder, really, coming out of like Lowell's playing and into like synth drums and stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like
it's like the first big sound Cure record, you know,
so
like
it's kind of cool, but
like all the times where Mike just like like. It's a big sound, like it's a different sound.
Yeah, but moving on, like to the live stuff, which is almost more important for Andy because he, you know, did most of the whole top tour with them, and there is surprisingly a lot of 1984 footage for it not being that great of an album or whatever, you know. And it's just weird that there's more footage on like YouTube and stuff of them playing from those tours than definitely more than like Kiss Me and stuff, which is really odd. I can never find any like actual live stuff other than like top of the pops and stuff for Kiss Me, but for some reason there's tons of like top footage, so it's definitely cool, and we'll have a few pointers at the end of where you can look to find some of it. But yeah, one of the huge main points of his live playing was cool, and pretty much all Cure members. I don't know if this is just something Robert lays down the law on quick when anybody new comes into the band, but it's like he doesn't fuck with the lull beats at all, really. You would think somebody that talented would almost be tempted, and maybe I'm just missing it from the drum perspective. Maybe you'll notice it more, Donald, but it's like even when you would think that like if he was just playing Figurehead or something, he would be adding a few more like flourishes and stuff, and just like kind of, you know, just spicing up a bit more on like, you know, I don't know, any of those early ones, because they're always so good about keeping old stuff in the set still. It wasn't like he clean slated that much of it even back then. They were always good about pulling from the old stuff, but just the fact that he would come out and still play them, I mean, fairly true to the lull beat and not totally just change it up, you know, in the same way that like
would you change the guitar part? Would you change the vocals? Would you change the synth?
Most of them don't, but a lot of people do. Guitar? Yeah, I mean, a lot of bands do,
like,
though.
That's not the song.
Yeah, but a lot of bands do. Like when they have like a rotating band, you know, you'd be surprised. Even just something as like pop punky as like Lemonhead shit or whatever, how different like those bass lines will be after Nick Dalton left and stuff. And you know, like even like, and people are giving Reeves a little bit of gripe, you know, on that last tour, because he would like kind of Reeves up the Letter to Elise solo absolutely. Or something, you know. And then like at first I was a little like, but considering how many songs and how good he is, it's fine. But at the same time, it's pretty amazing.
If you don't have something better to add, then don't. Yeah. Like that's where I stand. Like, because I do see what you're saying, and I do like it. Like when I see like different members and you know, like Dinosaur Jr., you know, just like,
And it's usually not. Yeah,
and I'm okay with it. I'm fucking okay with it.
and it might not be
like,
bad.
It's
just
well.
different.
It's just like don't add something stupid.
And even with him, I'm not saying even like make it better or something, but it is weird that it's great that he didn't really fuck with him much or even just try to change it around. Even
pay respect, like
because Roger even is pretty true to that too with the keyboard playing. You think he would be, and he does it sometimes for sure. Like we'll kind of do little frills here and there that weren't in the original like lull parts or something, but at the same time it's pretty surprising they don't do it more just for how talented they are and they're forced to play like dun, 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 dun. It's like you think it would just be almost harder for him to play that way as opposed to so anyway. So let's get to that first. Like we have to address this, I guess, unless you guys have any other further thoughts. The kind of downfall, unfortunately, of the touring side apparently was where it was hard on Andy. And even in some of the books, Robert suggested that a lot of the, it was like heaps of drinking with all of them, so that wasn't good. But apparently, Andy was
just like, I want to smoke weed and do mushrooms.
I think he was drinking quite a bit too. I think he was drinking on top of the mushroom tea or whatever. But it sounded like he just got to have a history of not being into the long tours and stuff, and kind of makes sense if you look at his track record afterwards, how he was more of a session dude that didn't tour too much and stuff. But Robert cited that maybe it was the times taking its toll on him, and he had like a lot of racial stuff and problems that were like when they would travel around into like Australia and then Japan, I think by the end where it really fell apart. He said it was like he wasn't treated very well. They'd go out and he didn't have horrible service where people would just treat him like shit and stuff, and it was just kind of bad racist stuff, at that time, and
first black dude.
Yeah, you could see it would just kind of take its toll and wear him out. Yeah,
pioneer.
So more in detail from Lowell's book, where they talked about how they're on tour in May at that point, and they returned back to the hotel in France, and Andy returned to the hotel. He used to walk around with a boombox on his shoulder when they would go out at night after the shows, and he was.
I bet he's listening to jazz and
who knows, but he was blasting it apparently. Came in real late, pretty whacked out, drunk or whatever, and had his fatigues on, so he's wearing his camos and just blasted this boombox when he came into the lobby of this hotel. And apparently the security guards freaked out, thought he was an intruder, and like maced him without even asking anything. Just like sprayed him right in the face, and then naturally Andy freaked out on the dude and chased him through the hotel, tried to kick his ass, I think, and like chased him down. Thought he had ducked into a room, and then Andy starts kicking on the door to break into the room to get this dude, and turns into the room that he was kicking the door into. There was the mayor's daughter was staying in that room. So they snag Andy pretty quick and take him off to jail. And next morning, Lowell had to sit with him for a long period of time, talk him into not going in there and still getting that guard. And they came to an agreement with the mayor's aides that if they agreed to just get him out of the city immediately, they wouldn't press charges. But then, in all the books, they were kind of like, so we did it, of course, just to get him the hell out of there, But they're like, but then, this.
I bet he was like, where's my fucking boombox?
Well, they kind of said, and it does go back to that racism stuff or whatever. The quote from Robert, he was saying like nobody ever thought that. Well, maybe Andy could have pressed charges too. He just got friggin' maced for no reason, And it's like, but that's the way it goes. And then apparently they just kind of
racist, man.
Yeah, so more and more fights were breaking out within the band. The touring was wearing on everybody. By Australia, they had some blow-ups there, and they said another altercation. This one, nobody was really clear on what the hell happened. They had a big fight, and then Robert just went to bed, came out back the next morning, post-show, mega fight. Around 4:30 in the morning, Andy was hauled off to jail again after a big freak out in the somewhere, throwing
just
shit.
For being a black guy?
And,
is that why he's hauled up to jail?
But after everybody regrouped, they agreed they couldn't just keep bailing him out of jail. That something had to go on without Andy because he was falling apart at this point. And apparently, this is the first and maybe only time Robert's been the one that just be like, all right, I'll tell him he's got to go, and basically went back to his hotel room where a guard was outside his door this time because they basically had him locked in the room saying this guy's out of control, they need to get him out of here. And
Was it the mushroom?
I don't know. I think he's just pissed at this point, but who knows? But Robert went in, basically said, we got a plane ticket for you to go back. Just go back. Take it easy. Don't worry. But yeah, we're pretty done. He said Andy was pissed, but he understood. He said, I respect you. You're the only one that dared to come see me. so apparently freaked out pretty hard. They sent him home. So it was kind of a sad end. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know what the full freakouts are all about. But
walk into that bullshit.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a madhouse.
Like all that inner tension when within the band where it's just like crumbling. There's like two dudes.
Yeah.
And like one dude's on the out. Lol.
Yeah.
And
Robert's Robert.
And Andy walked into this shit just like, I'm a studio guy.
Yeah.
Like, this band is huge. I'm gonna fucking shred. And he did. And
by the time you get to Tokyo,
tea, like he's pretty, like he sounds like a fucking chill guy.
Yeah, I know.
Like, and he walks into this fucking like
getting maced for no
chaos,
reason.
like, I'd lock myself in a room too. Like,
but yeah, then going back to your
Poor
thought
dude,
on
man.
the idea of what do they do now? They had 3 weeks of touring still to do. And they said, well, Lowell, what do you think? Can you play the drums? And he's like, Lowell was like, I was ready to give it a shot. But then they pretty much decided they didn't even want to try. So
I want to hear a recording of that so bad of Lowell trying to play
like,
that dude's drum parts.
We'll see who else. It's like Phil Thornley knows a lot of people from recording. So they
any other drummers, anyone?
But it did work out.
Lowell's like, I got a trumpet.
They're all like, we need a drummer, and he's like, I am the drummer. I played like on the first. Like, no, we need a drummer. It's like, I am a drummer. Jesus, what's wrong with you guys? I played on like your first like 4 albums or whatever.
They probably
That'd be so
they
hard.
probably had him try playing Shake Dog Shake, and they were just like, yeah, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah. So they got the dude from Psychedelic Furs for 11 shows, and then he had to peace out. And then luckily Phil knew Boris from the Thompson Twins, but we'll save that whole story for another episode. He came in and actually played the last like handful of shows on the Top tour. So, and he had a funny quote that I just saw in passing real quick. He was like, I was happy to stick around with the Cure. The Thompson Twins were so boring. They would just sit around and drink tea after every show. And he's like, these guys all drank and they're ready to party. so sounded like he was a little bit more up for it than Andy was. So that's where that goes. But and after he was gone, they released, I think while the tour was still wrapping up, but Concert, the live album came out, which is a really rad live recording, really, and kind of documents the whole area. Very cool. Yeah. Robert had a cool quote. He says, it's done very plainly. We only set 4 days of mixing it, and it's not a very big budget number, but it's a trashy record. It doesn't glisten, but it actually sounds like a concert. So.
Trashy.
It says it's trashy and doesn't sound like it, but it sounds like the concert. So, which really is cool. I like a live album that sounds like an actual live show. So.
And
what's that trashy shit though?
Just that it's like not very good quality.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not the best quality, but I like the fact that they didn't just play Top stuff or Japanese Whisper stuff on it.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a broad, broad amount of songs that they did over the career.
Yeah.
Up to that point. So
I was wondering, maybe
well.
you know with the vinyl side more, Chaz, is Concert like hard to find these days because it hasn't really been like reissued on CD or anything, and like
I've seen it a couple. I mean, I have it, but I've seen it a couple times for sale. I want to say it was just like a European thing though. Yeah. Because they released there's an extra part of that called Excerpt. That's just the forest and I'm trying to remember what other
was
song.
That like a 10-inch or like a 40?
No, it's a 12-inch with 2 songs on it. It's got a Primary and a Forest on it.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it was just that one's a little bit harder to find just because I know that one was just in Europe.
Yeah.
Like Germany and the Netherlands, and that's pretty much it. So
yeah, there's like a bunch of different like versions of it. I have one like I forget where it's from. I think Germany, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the record's warped. Like I just bought it, and I didn't look at the record. I was like, yoinks when I bought it, and then when I got it home, it was like, it's so warped.
Even my CD I have I'm looking at now is all like says West Germany all over it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now, and there's no U.S. pressing of it.
Weird. So, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, and the tape had that Curiosities part that was really cool. But it's a weird one. That's all I was kind of wondering. Yeah, if it was something that would be going for absurd amounts or something, but maybe just harder to track down.
Yeah, it's just harder to find over here than anything.
Yeah.
So.
But that dude ripped on that shit.
Yeah, I think it's a great live.
Drummer wise,
it's a great album. Great live album.
Yeah, it's really it's one of my favorites. Like I love his playing on it so much.
Yes, I mean it couldn't help but cross my mind the idea of like I kind of wish he had played on more other than the top because he is such a great musician and those songs are some of them are great and some of them aren't really their best stuff by any means. So it would have, as much as I love Boris and I love all the Lowell stuff as it was, so there isn't really any era or time frame where it would have been something I'd be curious to hear it different. But at the same time, you wonder if Andy had played on like Head on the Door, how different it would have sounded, or you know what I mean, or it would have been kind of cool to get him on something more, but just not the way it rolls, I guess. But any dream tracks you wish that he would have played on? I guess
I would like to hear how In Between Days would have started off.
Yeah,
you have that opening with Boris, and then with the acoustic guitar coming in. That I would have liked.
It's like it's an iconic fill.
I like that. I wonder if it would have started stronger than Boris would have done it, than the way he did it. But kind of picture like Shake Dog Shake, kind of just like punch you in the face kind of thing.
Yeah, a little snappier maybe, and
I could imagine him like playing on like Kiss Me and stuff, and I don't think it'd be that different. Than
true. It does seem like it could have been
like what Boris may have done.
Yeah. Like, what would have been great, even though it makes no sense, is him playing on Wild Mood Swings. That would have been great. Because I always said Wild Mood Swings was sort of like the sister album to the top anyway. So that would have really been great. I think.
Absolutely,
made no sense
whatsoever,
but that would have been great.
Because the dude's so tight with his time and his little jazz.
Yeah, like something like the 13th and shit. He could have totally done some weird crap on that, So
on the closing, because he got left out of the Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah. So who knows what the politics were with that?
Fuck you, Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So.
Fuck you. I hope you feel bad.
So when we go up
you
there,
denied him this honor, and then he died. You pieces of shit. I hope you feel good.
There is a nice little
way to go.
There's a petition going around to sign to try to get the Hall of Fame to add him in there.
And if those online petitions work as good as they do for everything else, I think we're gonna see some serious changes. But
cool.
It's worth a shot. Why not?
Assholes.
But Chaz and I will set them straight when we go up there. We're gonna.
Poor dude, and what an artist.
But if you do want to hear more Andy stuff, the quick rundown is the obvious Cure ones. But then, like we said, with the early stuff, post Cure, heaps of names. Gun Club, he did something with. It's hard to tell, like if he did live stuff or on actual recordings. There weren't too many that really stood out as bands I knew very well. Peter Gabriel, you recorded something with. Isaac Hayes, Iggy Pop. There's some cool live stuff on YouTube, so you can find him playing with Iggy Pop around like what was it? I thought I jotted down like Winners and Losers, I think was the album. But it had like him playing like The Passenger though, and like Real Wild One, Wild Child, or whatever that one is, around that like right before Crybaby era. I think it was 87 or something. There's like a good batch, and actually the best part, I was trying to compile all of them, but if you just go,
those are all good songs.
Andy actually had a YouTube page. Yeah, he has a YouTube page that you should just go to that directly because he uploaded a lot of them to that. So you can find a lot of the Cure ones on there and stuff. And then he had like tons of just like a little electronic recordings and stuff that weren't ever officially put out, but he put them out as YouTube recordings. So he had it by the name of, what was it? AA Music spelled with a K. And then some of them were under the name Front and Center. But yeah, so there's some weird different styles on there. Most of it's kind of electronic based. But yeah, tons of stuff and lots of good YouTube clips out there. There's like a whole Steve Hillage Kent University show he played on, the Cure in Japan, that whole live show that everybody knows pretty well, and the Glasgow one. Caterpillar Love Cats videos. So they're out there. So go start your own Andy tribute page. But any other final thoughts on this class act, Andy? Sounds like everybody thought really well of him though, and sad to see him go. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has anything negative to say about him. So,
yeah, nobody seemed bitter by anything.
No.
Yeah.
Even with all that fizzle out of his actual tenure in the Cure, everyone seemed to be,
yeah,
pretty cool about it, which is nice to see.
Yeah,
no
man.
dirty laundry left behind. So
yeah.
So yeah,
I would. This will probably be out before or after I already put them out, but I'm gonna be doing a tribute shirt for Andy, and the money's gonna go to the Teenage Cancer Trust in the UK. So
fuck yeah.
So it's just something I felt like doing.
So, it's a cool design and great idea and a great way to do it, I think. So
that's dope, dude.
Yeah, so 17 second shirts. .bigcartel.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, we'll hopefully see you in the next round, Andy. And for the holy hour, it's a privilege listening to these recordings still, and they definitely hold up. 1984. It's hard to believe. Timeless, really. All of it. So cool, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for partaking, Chaz, Donald.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Catch you the next time on the Holy Hour.
Go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor, and then talk hard. And out of respect for Andy, we're not gonna end with a bunch of plugs and websites and things. I just suggest go listening to some of his music, and we'll sign off with a little bit of silence for Andy. Till next time.